Thank you for listening today on Revealing Wholeness, sponsored by Infinity Whole Health. Check out our website at infinityWholeHealth.com, where we are revealing the eternal in each individual, the infinite in the individual. The creativity is made manifest. Limitation is let go. Now, here's your host, Dr. Troy Munson.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Troy Munson on Revealing Wholeness, and today I'm so delighted to have in the studio Diana Henkel with us here, and she's going to talk to us about essential oils and get us a start of understanding that, and there's a lot of information out there, so we're going to kind of do some basic things today, but catch us in the future because we're going to expand on it more and more as we go. So, Diana, welcome.
Thanks for having me here.
It's awesome to have you here, and I'm so pleased because essential oils is something that I've really wanted to incorporate even in my own practice, but I feel daunted because there's so much information out there. Will you help us kind of demystify it a little bit?
Oh, absolutely, because yes, there's a lot of information out there. So if you start doing a Google search or whatever you do, there's a ton of it. And it's like, where do you start?
So let's start first things first. So how did you get into essential oils? Tell me your story.
Well, actually, I have my grandmother, my late grandmother, to thank for that, really, because I actually started learning about essential oils a few months prior to that. My parents became members of this essential oil company. Mm-hmm. I ended up going to see my grandmother, who lived in Texas, and I didn't realize how bad she was till I got there. And knowing what I already knew, and she had dementia really bad. And so my stepmother and I went to the local health food store and we're looking at essential oils going, which one is better than the other?
Sure.
We have no idea, right? But I'm like, wait a minute.
I
kind of know,
yeah.
Right?
What year are we talking?
Oh, we're talking 2010.
Okay.
Got it. And so it was January 2011 when we're like, we don't know which one is better than the other. And what do most of us do? We go by way of price.
Yes.
And we're like, well, let's pick the one in the middle, right? Well, lo and behold, that wasn't the way I should have done it. So I called up a cousin who had been begging me, not really begging me, because I told her I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I called her up and says, okay, fine. I'll be a wholesale customer. Don't ever ask me to do this as a business. So I got a bottle of lavender for my grandmother, knowing that let me tell you that I do love Doterra. Mm-hmm. And I chose that for a reason because I know that they're safe. And I learned a lot about the company before I ever even started into this.
Sure.
And so lavender helped my grandmother. And I became a member or a customer. And 9 months later, I decided to do this as a business because it was something that I started understanding more. I was like, wait a minute. People need to know that there's options out there.
Sure.
They don't know. So that was my start.
So give me just a little bit more information. What was going on with your grandmother? What did she see? What did you see change-wise with the lavender?
The lavender made her anxiety level go down because her dementia was so bad that just because they changed the bed in her bedroom, even though she was in the living room, she's lived in this house for 64 years.
Wow.
So it's not like nobody knew where to find her, but she felt nobody could find her because they changed the bed. That was the only thing that changed.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so for her, it was this huge thing that, well, they won't know where I'm at. Yeah. And it's like, well, we need to help her and help her mind know that it's okay. People will find you. Bring that anxiety level down. And that's exactly what it did.
Wow, nice.
And so I really appreciated having something that simple that all she needed to do was just smell it.
Sure.
I didn't need to put it on her. And we could diffuse it in the bedroom.
I was going to say, so some type of diffusing.
Yeah, because she couldn't do anything for herself. Yeah. She had to be totally... she couldn't walk anymore. She couldn't go to the bathroom by herself. So there was a lot of things that were changed. Sure. And so I was grateful to have that last time with her. Yeah.
And her more comfortable and relaxed.
And her be way more comfortable. Yeah. It even got to the point of that she didn't remember that all my kids were grown.
Yeah.
and that my son had just had a child, and she says, it's so nice of your husband to be home with the child. And my stepmother and I looked at each other and go, it's okay. She doesn't need to know.
That's right. It's not going to help.
It's so cool. I was like, yeah, you're right. It's so wonderful that I have a supporting husband.
So this next 9 months of incubation, what kind of cases and what kind of things did you see that all of a sudden, I think I want to do this. This is really working.
Well, that's where, again, I realized, and this is something that's been me all my life.
Yeah.
I have never chosen to take a lot of medication.
Sure.
There's got to be alternatives. And I always chose that route.
Yeah.
So when doTERRA kind of fell in my lap, or essential oils fell in my lap, I was like, there's no way that an essential oil could actually help with health. Really?
Yeah.
Could they? So I started listening to doctors and going to events that I could listen to some authorities on essential oils and actually how they work in the body. Yeah. And I was amazed. And I remember that one story in particular that a friend of mine had another friend that had never met. And she says, hey, we need to help this person. And she's got all these things going on. And I'm like, okay. So I go to this person's house. She's got like 32 pill bottles beside her bed. And she had just had exploratory surgery.
We're talking like 32 medication bottles.
Yes.
Wow.
Most of them were pain medications.
Oh my gosh.
There was only one that was really specific for what she had going on. And it was like, you've got to be kidding me. That's playing such a havoc on their body. Even I know that, right? Yeah. Even if I weren't doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, so what kind of surgery did you just have? And she said, well, I've been trying to have a baby. I've been anemic for many months. Yeah. And she couldn't even vacuum her front living room without having to sit down. She didn't have any energy whatsoever.
Sure.
And so we introduced her to a supplementation, and she was adamant that can't take them because I'll throw them up. She's allergic to the anti-caking, which people don't understand about that. She couldn't even do the Flintstone chewables.
Sure.
Same thing. I was like, wait, that's a chewable. Anyway, not to make a long story, but shorten it up a little bit, that what she had found out after having iron infusions, that she had a cyst that was growing on her uterus and was now starting to attach to her spine.
Oh, gosh.
And so she was pretty much on her menstrual pretty much all month long. Yeah. So, of course, she's going to be anemic. What they found out was her blood cells were half the size of what they were supposed to be. So 50% of her red blood cells were 50% the size that they should have been. So, of course, they can't get the oxygen they needed. So what the supplements did in 3 days gave her so much energy that her husband didn't even recognize her on the phone. And I was like, to hear him talk about it, it's very comical.
Sure.
And we're all like, wait a minute, you're on speed dial, or she's on speed dial, right? Well, yes. And so why would you think you got the wrong number?
That's funny.
So that's just one testimony. I have so many people, and today she's one that will say, well, I think you saved my life. And it's like, no, I didn't. It's because you made a choice.
Sure. And so, okay, so we've kind of got these ideas of, wow, this is something. So how do they work? What do they do?
When you look at essential oils have aromatic compounds.
Okay. What does that mean? Which
means that when you smell something, you smell a flower.
Yeah.
That's the smell that you get. It's the aromatic compounds.
Okay.
So in there is what I call the lifeblood of a plant.
Okay.
Whether it's a flower, seeds, roots, bark, leaves, stems, they all have an essential oil within them.
Okay.
So that is what creates the aromatic part of it. It's also something that is helping protect the plant, and it's also helping for reproduction of the plant.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're taking that plant matter and we're taking a whole bunch of it. I mean, we're talking piles of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's kind of like wringing out the plant.
Okay.
Whatever you have. And then whatever drips out, that's the essential oil.
Got it.
This kind of gives you a good analysis and how you can see it in your mind for those of us that don't know what they are. And so those compounds are constituents that make up. So in every single essential oil, there are compounds in that oil that give it all of nature's own supplementation to our body or medicine to our body. I know that, that's probably not as compliant, but it really is nature's medicine.
Sure.
But we have to look at it differently.
Yeah.
And so when we have that available to us, our body knows what to do with it because it's natural.
Yeah.
It's not something synthetic.
So much like we would see an omega-3 fat be very important for brain production, we have these oils that have different hormone properties, different nutrient properties, and as they hit our nose and we smell it, they're going to immediately start changing because they're going to interact with our nervous system.
Yes.
And then as they hit our skin, they're actually going to go in and they're going to change things and try to help normalize function. True?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely true.
Good. Expand on that for me a little bit if I didn't do a good job.
So when we smell something, okay, if it's a good smell, you automatically go, oh my gosh, what is that smell?
Yeah.
But if you smell something you don't like,
Sure.
you're running the other direction.
Yeah.
So when the body has a smell that it really likes, it hits the olfactory, and then it gets into our nervous system, into our bloodstream, just very quickly. So we can have, whether we use it aromatically or whether we use an essential oil topically, we can have a response within 30 seconds.
Wow.
Which is amazing to me.
That's awesome.
Because, and then you go ask the question, well, how does that happen?
Yeah, because it almost sounds almost medication-wise, and what's the difference?
Yes. And so when you look at the medication side, what pharmacies are doing or pharmaceutical companies are doing is they're taking that one compound, the major compound, out of the essential oil. So we'll do an example. Wintergreen.
Yeah.
Wintergreen is very warming, and it has a compound called methyl salicylate. Okay, so that specific compound is what you find in like Bengay, Icy Hot, anything that has that warming
smell.
and cooling
Yeah.
sensation. Okay. So methyl salicylate in that wintergreen is 90% in wintergreen.
Okay.
And it's the easiest to reproduce in a lab.
Yes.
And it's cost efficient.
Okay.
Okay, but it's synthetic.
Sure. It
You
doesn't
can
look
replicate
quite
it
the
really
same.
easy.
Yeah.
And so
it doesn't look the same chemically either. It just smells the same.
it smells the same.
Yes.
But it doesn't work the same.
Correct.
But you can still get the same result from it. Like if I put Icy Hot on the bottom of my feet, for instance. So I'm going to warm up my feet.
Okay.
But what the idea behind this is to look at something that's not synthetic.
Sure.
And go to the true source.
Because isn't there more than just that one chemical in wintergreen?
Right.
Yeah.
So when you start taking something out of something, so it's like a recipe.
Yeah.
If I'm cooking or baking, if I omit just like eggs, for instance, out of a recipe,
Sure.
does your cake come out the same?
Not at all.
No. So that's where we look at essential oils compared to the synthetic version.
Got it.
They bring that one compound out. Well, in the lab, they have to add something, and then that's how we end up getting our side effects from medication, is because they've taken something out, they put something in, and now we have the medication that has the side effects.
Sure.
Whereas essential oils is not going to happen like that.
Man, that is phenomenal. Now, I know this kind of gave us a quick look-see, but I want to, at least before we end, give us some ideas of what are essential oils used for? What conditions?
Oh my gosh. Pretty much everything.
Really?
Yes.
That is amazing. Like, so what's common that people use it for?
The common things are like digestive issues, respiratory issues, and, emotional issues. And just anything and everything on a daily basis.
So, like, if
I'm
not sleeping well.
If I'm not sleeping, so if I got a sore throat, if I've got an aching knee, I can have something that can give me relief very quickly.
If I have a bug bite.
Yes.
Or a skin condition, like a rash.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So pretty much if you can think of it as something that you can go down to your local pharmacy.
Yeah.
Or over-the-counter stuff.
Yeah.
For anything. You know, if
obviously
it's for itching, you know, we have an essential oil that can work for that.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yes. It's just that I chose Doterra because